This woman has 5 different husbands, and she like kills a bunch of them. I mean, imagine marrying someone, moving into their home, sleeping peacefully at night, not knowing that under the patio in the backyard, there might already be another husband buried there. This is the story of Betty Lou Beets, the woman Texas would eventually call a black widow. But the question isn't just how many husbands she had. The real question is, why did so many of them end up dead? Betty Lou Beets was born in 1937 in Virginia. Her childhood was rough. She claimed she was abused. She claimed she suffered hearing damage as a child. And from early on, people described her as emotionally volatile. And at just 15 years old, still in the ninth grade, she got married for the first time in 1952. Husband number one. That marriage lasted 16 years. They had children together. But in 1968, he left her for another woman. Now, for most people, that would be devastating. For Betty Lou, it was just the beginning. In 1970, she married husband number two. But that marriage didn't even survive the year. They divorced, but strangely, they kept seeing each other. Their relationship became violent. In 1971, during one of their fights, he hit her and broke her nose. The following year, 1972, they fought again. This time, Betty Lou pulled out a gun. She shot him. He survived. She claimed self-defense, and because he refused to cooperate with authorities, she avoided prison time. And here's the strange part. After all of that, they got back together, and then divorced again. Now, at this point, you might say, okay, this is just chaotic relationships, dysfunction, violence on both sides. But then came husband number three. In 1978, Betty Lou married again. They moved to Texas. The fighting started almost immediately. At one point, she allegedly tried to run him over with her car. Within a year, that marriage collapsed too. Divorce. 3 husbands down. Now, some people move on after one failed marriage. Some after 2. But Betty Lou, she just kept going. And in 1981, she married husband number 4, Doyle Wayne Barker. This one would not end in divorce. It would end in silence. Because in 1981, during yet another violent argument, Betty Lou shot Doyle. This time he did not survive. And instead of calling police, she called her teenage daughter. She told her, "I shot him last night." Then she asked her daughter to help get rid of the body. They dragged Doyle's body out of the trailer. There was already a hole dug in the yard, meant for a barbecue pit. They dropped his body inside. The next day, Betty Lou covered it with dirt. Then she laid cinder blocks over the area and built a makeshift patio. And just like that, husband number 4 disappeared. No missing persons case that went anywhere. No serious investigation. He was just gone. And Betty Lou moved on with her life as if nothing happened. About a year later, in 1982, Betty Lou married again. Husband number 5, Jimmy Don Beets. He moved into her trailer in Gun Barrel City, Texas. The same trailer, the same backyard, the same patio. Underneath that patio was Doyle. But Jimmy didn't know that. At first, things seemed normal. But by 1983, the fighting had begun. Jimmy had money, Social Security benefits, and disability income. And Betty Lou liked money. She also liked control. Neighbors would later describe their relationship as loud, chaotic, and violent. Then in August 1983, Jimmy disappeared. Betty Lou told people he had left her. She said he ran off. She even told some people he had gone fishing and never returned. But that wasn't true. According to later testimony, during a fight, Betty Lou shot Jimmy. Then, instead of burying him under the patio like husband number 4, she put his body inside a 55-gallon oil drum and buried it in the yard. Now there were 2 husbands on that property, one under the patio, one in a barrel in the yard. And Betty Lou, she collected Jimmy's pension checks. She continued living in the trailer. She remarried again later, briefly, though that marriage also failed. Years passed. For a while, it looked like she had gotten away with it. But secrets like that, they don't stay buried forever. In 1985, Betty Lou's son contacted police. Family tensions were rising. Her children knew something wasn't right. Investigators began looking into Jimmy Don Beets' disappearance. Police came to the property. They started digging, and what they found would shock even seasoned investigators. First, they uncovered a 55-gallon oil drum buried in the yard. Inside was human remains. It was Jimmy Don Beets. Then they kept digging. Under the patio, they found another body. Doyle Barker, 2 husbands, same property, buried within feet of each other. Betty Lou was arrested. At trial, she claimed abuse. She said both men had beaten her. She said she acted in self-defense. Her defense team painted her as a battered woman. But prosecutors argued something else. They said she was manipulative, that she targeted men with money, that she killed for financial gain. The jury believed the prosecution. In 1985, Betty Lou Beets was convicted of capital murder for killing Jimmy Don Beets. She was sentenced to death. She spent years on death row in Texas. Appeals were filed, arguments were made, but ultimately the sentence stood. On February 24, 2000, Betty Lou Beets was executed by lethal injection. She was 62 years old, and to this day she remains one of the very few women executed in Texas history. 5 husbands, 2 buried in her backyard, in a story that sounds almost fictional. Except it wasn't. Some people called her a victim, some called her a survivor, others called her a black widow. But the backyard doesn't lie. In the end, the truth was buried just a few feet below the surface.